Right, so welcome back to this course, and in this video we'll be dealing with Flask SQLAlchemy. Like I explained in the first video, the introduction, I explained that SQLAlchemy is an ORM, an object relational mapper, which allows you to manipulate your database, your SQL database, with any programming language of your choice. An ORM helps to manipulate the database with any programming language of choice. And since we are using Flask, what you are going to be using is Flas SQLAlchemy. So let's get started with it. The first thing we have to do is go to our terminal and git bash. Remember, we are using git bash. So first thing we have to do is to create a virtual environment. We are using this command python-n then followed by the name of the virtual environment, maybe env. Then you click enter. And remember, if you're on Linux or Mac, you use Python 3. So that's just the difference. So after putting the command, hit the enter button. Then after creating the virtual environment, you have to activate it. So to activate the virtual environment, you enter the command dot. Make sure you're on git bash terminal, because the way it works on git bash is different from the way it works on PowerShell. So if you're on git bash dot space the name of the virtual environment, here env / scripts, that's capital letter S, then activate, then press enter. Now you can see here that the virtual environment has been activated, so it's now active on our terminal. And another thing is, if you're on Linux or Mac, you won't have scripts here. What you're going to have is bin. I explained that also in the previous video. What you're going to have is bin. That's just the basic difference. But you still follow the same command dot env bin, then activate. So okay, let's move on. Now to use Flas SQLAlchemy, we need to install some Python packages, and the first thing you have to install is Flask itself. Pip install Flask. Pip install Flask. Now after installing Flask, the next thing to install is CyclePG, because CyclePG is the engine that makes our script connect to the database. So pip install CyclePG2. Pip install CyclePG2. And remember again, if you're on Linux, it is CyclePG2 binary. So this is how you have it, CyclePG2 binary. The next thing we are going to install is SQLAlchemy. Pip install SQLAlchemy. After installing SQLAlchemy, the last thing we are going to install is Flask SQLAlchemy. So the basic difference is SQLAlchemy is the ORM for Python. Flask SQLAlchemy uses SQLAlchemy. It has built on top of SQLAlchemy, so that it makes it easier to integrate with the Flask application. So after installing everything, just to be sure that all the packages have been installed, go to the command line and make sure the virtual environment is still activated, and enter the command pip freeze. And when you enter pip freeze, you see here all these blinker, click, colorama, they are all packages that come together with Flask. So the main thing you want to note here is Flask SQLAlchemy, the Ginger, this is what Flask uses for templates, markup, entering the HTML, CyclePG, SQLAlchemy, and Rexog is used for security like Flask. So you don't really need to bother about those ones, but the major ones: SQLAlchemy, CyclePG2, Flas SQLAlchemy, and Flask. Alright, let's move on. Now to get started, make sure your VS Code is running on the virtual environment created. If you come to the left bottom corner, left, the right bottom corner, you see here, you can, if it is not using the virtual environment, just make sure it's using it. Just click here and select the virtual environment you want to use. So make sure it is running on the virtual environment. So just make sure it's running on the virtual environment. You see our virtual environment Venv, and you can see it here, Venv. So now when we start our Python script to use any Python package, we start with importing the required libraries. So from Flask, import Flask. From Flask, import Flask. From Flask, import Flask. That's the first one. So that's just the Flask, which is the framework itself. The next thing we have to import is Flas SQLAlchemy. So we have from Flas SQLAlchemy, import SQLAlchemy. From Flas SQLAlchemy, import SQLAlchemy. So Flask is a web framework which does the major work behind the scene. Flas SQLAlchemy is the ORM that allows us to use the SQLAlchemy within Python to communicate to the database. So next thing we're going to do is register our Flask app. We register our Flask app by creating a variable which is app equal to Flask. This Flask here, that's what we use here because that's what we imported. So Flask and main, this subscript main. So that is how we register our Flask app. So after we register our app, let's create a new database. Yes, let us work with a new database. So we go back to our command line. Let's open Postgres PSQL -u. You know, the user is student, and we could enter any database at all, whether it's Postgres or maybe PlantDB, the one we created before. Let's just use the one we created before. So -u, which means user, and -d, which means the database you're trying to enter. Asking for the password, which is student. Now we are here. So to create a new database, write create database. Let's name it users. Now if it returns create database like this, that means the database has been created successfully. Now after creating the database, we want to assign the database to a user, and the user we are going to assign it to is the student, which is the user we have been using since. So we'll say grant or privy to like this to database of here, it's on grant all privileges on database. The name of the database will follow users to student. Now if it returns grants, that means it's now successful. Now we can just enter inside the database with the command /c users. Now we are connected to database users as user student. So we can check if you have any relation or any table. /dt did not find any relations. Yes, that's good. Now let us connect our app to the database. And to connect the app to the database, we use the app.config method. app.config, and inside it we have SQLAlchemy. SQLAlchemy database URI. SQLAlchemy database URI equals, the first thing we'll have is PostgreSQL. That's the database you're using. Let it not be in uppercase, let it be in lowercase. PostgreSQL, and a colon follows, then // Now the name of the user the name of the user for the database. You know, when we created the database, we registered it to the user student. So we're going to use student here. The name of the user, which is student, then another colon, then the password, followed by the password. The password is student. We are working on our local machine, so localhost 5432. This is the default port for PostgreSQL on any machine you are using, except to change it by yourself, which we have not changed. So it is localhost 5432/users. Then what ends it is the name of the database, the actual name of the database, which is student. So note, we are using PostgreSQL. The user is student, and the password for that user is also student, and this is the name of the database. We'll go to the next line. Then we create our database also. Since we have connected our app to the database, then we can register the app on the database, which will be SQLAlchemy app. DB is equal to SQLAlchemy app. Now this command helps us to register the app and the DB together. So the next thing we have to do is start using SQLAlchemy. How do we use SQLAlchemy? Object relational mapper. What it does is it maps database tables, columns, rows. It maps them to classes in Python, and we'll see example. We'll see an example. If we want to create a table in the database, a table called person. Let's start. Person. We have here db.model. Now we can leave it like this. We can just leave the class person. Then in our database, the name of the table is going to be person. But if we have a particular name that we want to specify, maybe we don't want the default name person, we just use this table name to persons. We'll have this here. So the name of the table is going to be persons. Now the first column will be ID, which will serve as the primary key. So db.column, db, we want the ID to be an integer, and it's going to be our primary key. So let's have ID, and let's also have name. Name is also a new column on the table. Now name is not going to be an integer, it's going to be a string. Note, in PSQL, the string needs to have this brace, because if you want a limit on the number of characters that can enter the string, you can just have this here. Maybe you want it to have a limit of 120, you just put 120 here. But for now, we'll do without that. Then nullable. Let's make it not nullable. So this is just basically the same as using our SQL statements of create table persons, then we have a bracket, we have ID, integer primary key, then we have main varchar not null. So that's basically what we have just done here. And you see that those of us that know Python very well before, we won't have issues with this. It's something we understand before. So we are basically using Python classes to create tables, mapping it to our database. Alright, so in the next video, we'll continue with Flask SQLAlchemy and create an endpoint from our database.